Hello, 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 sacred divine woman. Welcome to this beautiful, sacred, transformative space to support you in becoming the divine woman that you are. And so before we begin, I invite you to take a deep, deep breath all the way in, inhaling deeply into your belly, deeply into your bones. And I invite you to hold this breath. And now do a slow exhale, releasing any tension and centering yourself so that you can receive this sacred transmission today to support you on your journey. And so let's begin. As you can see, the title of this show today is all about if you've been feeling disconnected, 7 sacred feminine rituals to reignite your power and purpose. And so, if this message has been called to you, if you have felt drawn to it, you've probably been feeling disconnected from your body, disconnected from your intuition, disconnected from your deeper purpose, and just feeling lost, maybe at this time in your life, like you need some guidance or direction, or you're just not feeling like yourself, like there's a something inside of you yearning to be awakened, to come back to life or to birth something new in your life. If you've been feeling this way recently, then this sacred transmission is definitely for you. My name is Oshun. I am the founder of Divine Feminine Wellness, where I guide women to reclaim their divine feminine essence, step into self-love, and transform their lives holistically, mind, body, and spirit. And so I'm so thankful to have you here today that you've heard the sacred call to return home to yourself. And one of the things I want you to understand is that we currently live in a world that constantly pulls us outward. And when we live in this world that's constantly pushing us outward, it is natural for us to get disconnected from within. It is natural for us to forget who we really are and to forget that the sacred power is really lies within us and that we have to go within to reclaim the parts of ourselves that have been lost in order for us to create the life that we really want. And so these 7 sacred rituals that I'm sharing with you today are rituals that I have done myself, that I continuously do at various points when I'm feeling disconnected, or you can just make it a habit of doing them once you get back connected to yourself so that you always stay grounded and centered in your sacred feminine wisdom. And so these rituals are going to help you reignite your power, connect you back to your sacred inner wisdom and feminine intuition, and help you to really step fully into your divine feminine essence and remember the power that is within you. And so if you've listened this far, one of the things I would like you to encourage to do before I keep moving forward is to subscribe to my channel so that you can continue to gain these sacred feminine transmissions to help you on your journey. And also hit the like button because it does help me on the YouTube channel and helps my message reach more and more women so that we can create a more empowered world for the feminine at this time. So now I want to move forward into helping you understand why is it that a lot of us modern women who are ambitious externally, successful, beautiful on the outside, but yet we still sometimes suffer with feeling disconnected. What is it that is causing this? And the reason this happens while we get to these routines in our lives where we're just going through the motions of work, relationships, responsibilities, but we still feel this deep void and sense of being unfulfilled inside is because we are living in a world that has taught us women to disconnect from our sacred cycles, ourselves, and all our wisdom that is deeply embedded in our connection to Mother Earth. We've been conditioned to suppress our softness. We've been conditioned to prioritize doing over being. And we've also been conditioned to silence the sacred feminine wisdom and our intuition that lies within our very bones as women. And so when we get to this disconnected place and we silence ourselves, it can show up for us as numbness, right? So that feeling of being disconnected from our bodies, our emotions, and our intuition. It shows up for many of us as burnout, right? Burnout is a sacred gateway back to yourself for many of us, myself included, on my journey. I got started on this journey at a very young age for many reasons, but one of them was burnout, living in overdrive, constantly doing. Those of you who have degrees in education and running businesses, right? We're always doing, and we're stuck in a cycle of productivity. And it looks great on the outside, but the problem is it leaves us unfulfilled internally. And also, we are longing for something more deeply. And that whisper inside of us is telling us that this is not how a life is supposed to be. It's letting us know that there's something more to life, there's something more that we need. And this sacred wound or disconnection from ourselves has its foundation in these principles that I just shared. Another reason why that we are feeling disconnected is because we have lost access to ancient feminine wisdom. And one thing about ancient feminine wisdom, it was steeped in rituals, things that they just did on a daily basis to keep them connected or within their lives in general. And while there are many indigenous cultures or women who are not so much so in the modern way of life who still practice these, it's very easy for us women who are living a more modern lifestyle to be disconnected from these ancient feminine rituals in our daily life. One of the things we got to understand is that women, our bodies are attuned to the cycles and seasons of nature. Um, Especially our wombs. And I teach a lot about womb wisdom as a womb wisdom keeper because it's very important for us to understand these cycles within our bodies and how it connects to earth and nature as a whole, because it is what helps us bring back our memories of connection to self and remembering who we really are. And so there were times when women knew that to gather under the moon to honor the cycles and seasons of earth, or when she was on her bleeding phase of her menstrual cycle, she knew it was time to go away and be with herself. It's not like that in the modern world. Many women today in their bleeding phase are pushing themselves, not knowing that ancient wisdom taught us to disconnect. Women also used to bathe in herbs and oils, and our ancestors knew that these herbs and oils were here to help us on the planet, the sacred trees. All of these things were there to keep us deeply grounded and connected in our bodies. They learned to listen with their bodies. They moved according to their intuition and not by force. And women who were not living as more of a modern lifestyle, or who our ancient ancestors understood the sacred connection of nature. And it wasn't about always doing more, but it was more about aligning and attuning to the flow within us that was also found in nature. And so when we disconnect from this part of ourselves, we end up not honoring our feminine essence, and we suppress it, and we ignore our emotions, and we push through, and we get exhausted, and we forget that our bodies are temples and we treat them like it's a machine. And so no wonder why we're feeling lost. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this. Um, in my earlier days in my life, I have done this before I became aware of this. And I have held many positions in leadership outside of my role and founding this company. I have a strong background in education, and I can't tell you how many times when I served as a leader, when I served as an assistant principal, how I saw my fellow leader, feminine women pushing themselves to exhaustion, pushing the staff to exhaustion, not realizing and not seeing the detrimental impact it had on the health of the women around them. And it is because they were living from this disconnection wound and from what society taught us how to be, which is not in our sacred feminine wisdom. And so when we realign ourselves with these sacred rituals and knowledge of the feminine that our ancestral mothers left us, we automatically release those ways of over pushing, over exhaustion, and we naturally flow more with life. And so these seven sacred rituals that I'm getting ready to share with you will help you soften into your body, help you connect, help you to remember that rest is powerful. Some women feel guilty for resting. You need to rest. Your body as a woman is cyclical, like Mother Nature, like the moon, like the seasons of the earth. And I'll do a video on that about cyclical wisdom because I also work with women in harmonizing their menstrual cycles in a very natural way. And all of that has to do with connecting to the cycles of nature. And when you practice these rituals, not only will you soften and connect to your body, but your intuition is going to awaken, your passion is going to reignite, and you're going to start living, not just existing. And you're going to be feeling deeply guided from within. And this, my dear, is the path of the divine feminine. It is a return to your wholeness, to your pleasure, and to your purpose. And so I would like to now transition into sharing with you these really wonderful sacred rituals that you can start doing right away because they're simple and easy. The greatest challenge you're going to have is yourself because you've been so used to not deeply caring for yourself. You've been so used to not deeply nourishing yourself that you will not make the time to do these sacred rituals. And I'm begging you for your own wholeness to at least try one a week, to give yourself that time, embed one ritual into your day. It takes 5 to 10 minutes and it will make the world of difference. So let us begin to help you. So, ritual number one is creating a morning altar ritual. So, when I invite my friends to my house, one of the things that they are all intrigued by is that they are welcomed in my living space by a beautiful altar. And an altar is a sacred space or a sacred portal where you connect back to your inner wisdom and you set intentions for your life on a daily basis, a weekly basis, monthly, yearly, and you can have an altar to any particular religious um, way of being that you work with. Or if you are like me, you work with the divine feminine, you work with particular goddess energies, you can dedicate it to that and work with those energies to support you in becoming more of the empowered woman you are. Or maybe you don't work with religion or you don't work with goddess energies, you just want to work and tap into the yourself. Either way, it's fine. You're going to tap into yourself either way. What you can do every morning is you create this beautiful space for you. Have a table, a beautiful cloth, put a bowl of water, something simple, right? Because water symbolizes the feminine, our emotions, and our intuition. And you simply light a candle, and you can place some fresh flowers on your altar, and you sit in your stillness. You sit in the silence and the quiet, and you ask yourself, what energy do I want to embody today? What is my intention for today? And you start your day with sacred intention. And when you start your day by connecting to yourself this way and listening to yourself, it becomes more and more of a habit for you to go within when you need to make decisions and really start to trust the signals that your body might be giving you, the messages that your inner wisdom is giving you about the circumstances in your life and how they may need to change or shift in order for you to create a more aligned life that brings you fulfillment and joy. So that's ritual number one, creating a morning altar ritual. Ritual number two is all about embodiment. One thing we want to understand is about the divine feminine path is about being in the body. I grew up in a very strict religious background. I will not say which religion because I don't believe in bashing religions. I believe they serve their purpose until we either stay in them or we expand into another way of being. So, nonetheless, I grew up in a very strict religion, and some of you who are listening to this probably have, or you might be in one still, where we are taught to disconnect from the body. We were taught to that the flesh is evil, the desires of the flesh is evil. At least I know I was taught that. And this creates a strong disconnection from my body and learning to listen to it. One thing we want to understand, and I want you to understand from my teachings and transmissions to you, is that on this path of divine feminine, the body is sacred. There's no disconnection from it. You want to fully inhabit your body and be fully alive. And so the way to do that is ritual number two, which is all about sensual movement, being in your body, being in your senses, because your body is seen as a temple. And it is through dance, it is through stretching, through that intuitive movement that you release stuck energy and you awaken that inner radiance that is within you. And you learn to let go all of that rigidity and all of those external societal pressures and limiting beliefs that you've been carrying for a while. You start to wake up to the wisdom that's in your body. So, doing sacred hip movements, turning on some beautiful flowing music, circling your hips, swaying your hips, breathing deeply, placing your hands on your belly, and just moving. That's all you have to do. Slow, sensual movements. It does not have to be structured, it can be simple. One form of sacred sensual movement that I love, that I also teach, that I will be offering workshops on soon, is belly dance. Belly dance was one of my strongest gateways into divine feminine wisdom, about being in the body and being in sensuality and reclaiming my joy and my life of pleasure again. Really learning to open up to understanding what it means to choose a life you love versus one that is rigid and lackluster. So I always recommend belly dance, but simple swaying, stretching. Yin yoga I love as well. It's not like traditional yoga, it's yin yoga because it's more soft and more flowy. It's another form of movement you can use. Ritual number 3 is moonlight rituals to reconnect with nature. So if this is your first time hearing this, or maybe it's not, one thing we want to understand is that the moon governs the cycles of the feminine. It governs our bodies, our menstrual cycle. It also governs the ocean. And this has been known for centuries. Our ancestral mothers and those of us still connected to this wisdom today know how important the moon is for us and our bodies and how we react to it as women. In fact, most of the food you eat, the farmers cannot grow their crops without attuning to the moon, because that is how powerful it is on our planet. And we women are governed by it as well. So I invite you to connect back to the moon. Okay. When you connect back to the moon, you connect back to your desires, and you have a rhythm also of releasing things that don't serve you. So, for example, on the full moon was traditionally known to be a time of quietness and stillness, when you can set new intentions for your life. And if we align this to our menstrual cycle, it's during the bleeding phase that is considered the new moon within our bodies. That is why when you in your menstrual cycle, you are burnt out or very tired, and your energy is much more lower when you're bleeding, because it's actually a time for you to go within, to listen, to set your new intentions for that next lunar cycle or month. We have to remember that our modern day calendar system was built off of women's bodies, because our bodies were attuned to the womb. So we were the first calendars. Okay. So starting to live in a lunar wisdom way and following your body lunarly, or lunar months, will definitely support you in connecting back to yourself. The full moon was known as a time of fruition, where your visions either came true, or you saw some fruits of your labor. But it was also another sacred time for you to release things that no longer serve you, because things have come to their fullness. The full moon was known as a time of revelation. And within your own body, that's connected to when you ovulate. You're at your fullest, you're out there in the world, you have the most energy. And then right after that, your hormones drop and you release. And so that's why the full moon is also about releasing, letting go. Letting go of the things that don't serve you, so that you can continue to grow and evolve as a woman. So moonlight rituals is a great way to reconnect. And I go more into this into my programs and teachings. The next thing we want to do is mirror work for self-love and confidence. And so I want to ask you, when was the last time that you have truly saw yourself? When was the last time you stood fully nude in front of a mirror, and you gazed at your own eyes, and you looked at your own body, and you spoke love over you? When was the last time you told yourself that you were worthy, you were radiant, and you were deeply loved? Probably not recently, because we weren't taught to do that. But let me tell you, as someone who practices mirror work on a daily basis, it is the most powerful thing. It will boost your confidence and help you feel good in your body, and help you feel unstoppable, because you know you are sacred. And when you know you are sacred, you move differently in the world, and you make different choices for yourself. Ritual number 5 is all about journaling for emotional release and clarity. Now, I love me a nice journal. I have so many of them. In fact, as I am recording this video, I have my journal right here next to me for the journaling I've been doing for the past 2 days, as I connect to myself and move into new space of my life as well. And so journaling helps you get in touch with your emotions, right? So lately I had having some emotions that were not feeling the best. And so I knew that I needed to go within and listen, because one thing we need to understand, we don't want to suppress our emotions. Our emotions are messengers. It is through the feelings that we have that we get to the message or the root cause of what our life is trying to speak to us. And when you journal, it opens the space for you to do that. It opens the space for you to get clear about yourself. And so make sacred time to journal every day, or at least once a week, because life for us modern women is very hectic. There's a lot we don't give ourselves time to process. So write without judgment, let the words flow, and witness the wisdom that is within you unfold. Okay. Ritual number 6 is all about doing breath work to clear stagnant energy. One thing our ancestral mothers know, and what a lot of us holistic practitioners know, and what I learned too from my studies in Ayurveda. Um, if you don't know what Ayurveda is, it is Indian medicinal system that's all about teaching us how to live in harmony with our bodies, with nature. And one thing that I learned, and that many ancient ways of being have taught us, that the breath is your life force. It is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. And so when we breathe, that is our life force, because when we leave this body, our breath goes. And so the breath, when we inhale, we are receiving, and when we exhale, we release. So when you breathe deeply in a cyclical rhythm, you can release those emotions and those feelings simply by breathing them out. Because although you can't see your emotions, you can feel them, because they're energy, right? They are energy, so they are within you. And you may not be able to see them tangibly, physically, but you feel them. And when you breathe out and you release and you connect back, you release that stagnant energy. Simply doing breath work on a daily basis, or when you find yourself in a situation that may be a little bothersome for you, if you can, taking a few moments away from the situation and breathing and listening from within. And that brings me to the last sacred ritual, last but not least, which is silence and stillness to hear your soul's wisdom. And so, what I recommend is every evening, if you can, to sit in the quiet and listen for your inner knowing. Doesn't have to be every evening, it could be at any point in the day, but evening time is great for this, for you to create that space in your day, for you to have stillness, to just simply be in here. You can do this by doing an evening walk. You can go back to your altar if you have one, or find a sacred space in your home. I know if you have children or anything, you may have to wait till they all go to sleep. So I have to wait for my son until he goes to sleep before I can do this, but it is proven so beneficial. And you place one hand over your heart and one hand over your belly, and you just listen, and you give yourself that silence, that sacred silence. And so these rituals, if you practice them daily, you do one a day or two a day or one a week, find something that will support you, so that you can begin to feel connected again, begin to feel connected back to the sacredness that resides within you. And you can remember your feminine power, because you are your own best healer and teacher. And as a sacred priestess of feminine healing, it is my pleasure to guide you back to yourself, to your own seat of power, to help you put your crown back on as the queen goddess of your life. And I really hope that you have enjoyed this message. And if you have, I definitely invite you to, again, subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment about which ritual you have tried, and how it felt, or which one you're going to try, or just anything you want to share about this video and its message for you. I also want to invite you that if you want to work with me, there are two ways that you can work with me further in this work. Is one, I have a free guide called the Feminine Mystique Self-Love Rituals. There is another guide that I have in written form for you that goes into other rituals that you can do on a daily basis to support you. It has affirmations, and it also has journaling prompts, and you're going to see the link in the description of this video where you can get that for free. And if you feel called to go deeper in this work, enrollment is now open for my course, Embrace Your Divine Feminine, a 5-week journey to healing and self-love, where we go deeply into my sacred feminine embodiment practice. It is my 5-phase practice that really helps you build a strong foundation of self-love and feminine empowerment so that you can reclaim the lost parts of yourself. You can stop feeling burnt out. You can stop feeling disconnected from your body and in your intuition. You can start to feel whole and alive and really get yourself in the direction of creating a life you fulfilled. And so that link is also in the description. I invite you to read more about the program and apply. It is through application because I'm really intentional about the women I work with. So those are the ways that you can go deeper into this work besides what you heard on today's video. I hope that it has served you in some way. And again, share it with a sister friend, someone who can help you. And I'm wishing you a beautiful and an amazing day. Have a blessed day. Bye.